Welcome back, YouTubers, to another TNA Impact Wrestling review with us, the British Fist, trending worldwide.
Good, Jane.
Indeed, I'm Mr Parkin. This guy sitting next to me, it's NJ!
What's up?
Indeed. Make sure you guys subscribe above, like this video, put your thoughts on this edition of TNA Impact Wrestling down in that comment section below.
And please, contact us in the links in the description box below.
Indeed. Right, so let's see if TNA could hype up their pay-per-view this week. We'll find that out just as soon as we start talking about this event. We opened up with Sting this week, talking about how things have gotten out of hand with the attack from Bobby Roode on Dixie Carter, and then we get Bobby Roode coming out. I like these opening segments for me are getting consistently good, even though I don't think this was as good as like the previous ones, but this is still a decent opener in my opinion.
The length and the guys who opened it were the right guys, right length of time, so I enjoyed the opener.
Yeah, Roode comes out and talks about how, attacking Styles and Hardy and how it made for good entertaining TV last week, and then Sting tells him that there will be consequences for his actions, and that's the time when we get AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy coming out talking about, you know, they respect authority as the faces, they do that. And then the main event for this evening is made, Bobby Roode versus Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles, and I'm thinking, wow, that's 3 big names in a main event there for a TV show.
And the way I thought, yes, you have a big main event, but it's basically a handicap match.
Pretty much, yeah. For me, this opener establishes Roode's heel character some more with regards that he's not respecting Sting and everything. I like that they're at least trying to establish the fact that he's now a heel, despite the debacle of the whole heel turn. At least they're doing it nicely now. I do buy into him as a heel.
Yeah, they are doing pretty good at bringing up the heel stuff, which they should, because obviously he's now gone from a face to a heel.
Mm.
We do need to determine who the heel and the face is if we are going to have the beer money against each other.
Yeah, especially if he's going to be a top heel for the company, in my opinion. And that's why I think this video package we got later did help that slightly, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So we've got a main event made. I thought this was a decent opener. It only lasted 10 minutes. That's the perfect time for an open segment, so yeah. I'd give this one the thumbs up. Yeah. But the only trouble is, after that, we get a backstage segment of Karen Jarrett telling the knockouts to wash cars in their bikinis, and I'm like, oh dear. Oh, fucking dear. And we got this throughout the night. I'm like, why? Why was this even needed on the TV? This is one thing that pisses me off about TNA. This week I thought the show was good, but these fucking backstage segments pissed me off tonight. They really did.
Well, with this certain one, again, it's for the entertainment purposes, but to be honest, it weren't actually a match leading up to the pay-per-view. It weren't hyping up the certain knockouts that needed, so I just didn't think it was needed at all.
Karen Jarrett did announce a Mickie James ODB street fight match for that, so that was the only good thing about this. But you know, and apparently, if ODB wins, she becomes #1 contender. Kind of giving away the result. But why? What's the point in that? I don't see the point in these backstage segments. But we got more. Oh, we got more backstage segment this time between Jeff Hardy and Jeff Jarrett, teasing a pay-per-view match. Jeff Jarrett goes on about maybe one last shot. Why again? Then we have one between Bischoff and Bully Ray, and it's like, God's sake, whole TV segment full of fucking backstage segments pisses me off.
Well, the Jeff and the 2 Jeff one was kind of needed because obviously there are a few continuing.
They have a segment later though. Couldn't they not have just used that segment to hype up this? Just saying, like
they could have, but again, I think this one for the beginning, just to get it out the way, it should have been done now instead of later. Then
we have Bischoff and Bully Ray. It's more about Garrett Bischoff and Abyss. Whole TV segment full of backstage segments. Fucking stupid in my opinion. Took away from what I thought was a good show. We have our #1 contendership for our tag titles match. I know you're a big fan of #1 contenderships. We had Inc. versus Mexican America versus the put-together tag team of Devon and Pope. All I'll say is it's nice that we had a #1 contendership match. I'm a bit ashamed. I didn't like that. It wasn't hyped up very much, but at least we got some sort of #1 contendership for the pay-per-view, which is good when you're 2 weeks away from final resolution.
I think the rest in this, again, with the limited amount of tag teams they have, they couldn't really have done much. I think with this match, it was going to happen, and I think it's the right guys were in the match. Yeah,
definitely. Inc. and Mexican America, there's been doubts over their futures in TNA, so Devon and Pope win the match. As much as I don't like Devon and Pope as a tag team, at least it's getting Pope on TV in some role or form, and it's getting Pope back as a babyface, which is exactly how he needs. But the tag team division in TNA is really dwindling now, isn't it, unfortunately?
That's true. Again, the match would be a bit more exciting if we had more tag teams, but with this match, again, I bet it's the only thing they could have really done.
So Devon and Pope are the new #1 contenders for the tag team titles. I wonder now how they're going to build a feud between 2 face teams. At least it's a match made for the pay-per-view. That's the one thing I liked about, one of the many things I liked about this segment. Decent tag team action, a match made for the pay-per-view. I just wonder though, Where the hell is British Invasion? Whatever happened to that tag team? You've got Magnus and Doug Williams, great wrestler and a great talker. What happened to that tag team?
Well, the way I look at it, Pope and Devon, again, they've had troubles in the past, so I don't really think they're the best tag team to go for the tag titles, but whatever. And as for British Invasion, well, to be honest,
They've been on TV. They're a decent little tag team.
When they started to be on TV, when I started watching TNA, I thought that they are a good tag team, pretty strong, working well tag team, so they could have been involved more, which would give them maybe another tag team and another more contender for the championship. But
the only thing I can say, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, MJ. The one thing I will say here is they haven't been involved on TV, so maybe having them in a number one contendership match would have been a bit out of the blue. Just a point.
Well, out of the blue is this match because we've got Pope and Devon who were meant to have had a feud against each other or some fallout with each other. I don't know why they get this shot.
Well, that was a long time ago, but King of Mexican America were rightfully so being in there. Maybe just having King versus Mexican America. Maybe, I don't know. We then have an X Division segment. Austin Aries comes out talking about he's exceeded his expectations and is bringing prestige back to the X Division, and he's now in his own league, and he is the best man ever. Until we get Kid Cash coming out.
With Austin Aries on mic, I gave it thumbs up because obviously he's great on mic. He definitely got his point across, and I really enjoyed this. But then obviously Kid Cash had to come.
Well, I didn't think that was necessarily a bad thing. I do like the fact that with Austin Aries you can have a promo segment for the X Division because it's kind of the contrast you need. You know, they do great matches, but they do need a little bit of contrast in their feuds. Kid Cash comes out, talks about Austin Aries getting the cheap win, walking out on him. This has been kind of building for a while. Austin Aries gives him a title shot of Final Resolution, so we've got a match made. The tension between these two has been going for the last couple of weeks now and the pay-per-view. I just want to now, with two heels in this match, maybe are they sort of going to turn Aries' face? Maybe, I don't know. Just a feeling I might have. They might turn Aries' face. People do cheer him.
Well, the way I look at this is obviously I'm not really a fan of Kid Cash, but the way they shook hands and obviously Austin Aries making the move to attack.
Ugh.
That I thought was interesting, but it still shows that he's got a heel side to him. If he does turn face, they have to just work on that because obviously at the moment he looks like a heel.
I mean, overall to me, decent segment which set up a pay-per-view match. I have no problems with this. But then again, we get another backstage segment, of course, with TNA. We have Sting telling Jarrett not to get involved in the main event, or there will be consequences. And again, you know, there was all sorts of backstage segments going on. And again, it's another TV segment with just backstage segments. It's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Obviously, I want to just get onto the wrestling. That's my idea.
As our main event, an interesting main event this week. Mickey James versus ODB in a street fight. We've seen our knockouts on some editions of TNA Impact Wrestling have been the highest rated segments. I didn't mind this being the main event. I just wonder why they did a street fight. I understand they're trying to, entertain people, but was the street fight really needed here? It's just out of the blue and random.
Well, when it comes to ODB's character, she does do the street fight kind of well, I think. So she was all this cheating, using weapons, interesting match. Let's be honest, for a while now, this is one knockout match that actually did look pretty decent when it was being done.
It got a lot of time as well. It got seven minutes. They went backstage. The weapons are used. ODB appearing is a bit random in my opinion, but I guess the kind of right person you want to use for this. The crowd was well behind Mickey James as well. That's good for the knockouts. Mickey James, ODB dominates, but Mickey James gets the win with a kick to the chair. It makes your number one contender look strong. Maybe have a little bit of Gail Kim there rather than being in them backstage segments. But overall, I thought this was a good match. It made Mickey James look strong. It did its job.
Well, after the amount of backstage promos we had, I think this match actually got us back into the swing of wrestling again.
Yeah, because we only had 5 minutes of wrestling inside the first hour, so this was that's disappointing. But this was very refreshing. Another segment, in my opinion, that was very refreshing was the interview between James Storm and Kurt Angle. To me, personally, this was the best segment of the night. And I say this because it's nice how they talked about James Storm's condition, and then all of a sudden you have Angle come on the mic, and then you have the exchange between these two. They talk about having a match at the pay-per-view, and I'm just like, James Storm on the mic, Angle on the mic. God, I loved this segment. I really did.
Well, when it comes to hyping up a rivalry, you do need stuff like this. And the way they spoke to each other about coming on to the next show, we'll talk about this, we'll wrestle this. It was definitely good. Got the feud actually on a good start. And obviously, when it comes to Angle speaking on mic, it's going to be good. And James Storm, again, you can't complain there. So I thought it was really nicely done.
You have James Storm talking about the fact that he's not in the right condition, but he's still going to fight. So it's good character development for him being this tough face that's going to have to fight all the odds. and I'm looking forward to their match of the pay-per-view. We're going to have a segment next week between them two, which I'm also looking forward to. So overall, I thought this was a very, very, very good segment. Probably the segment of the night, in my opinion. I just love the way this was done.
Well, it was definitely effective. It got the point across, and I can't really complain because obviously it's got us wanting to tune into next week's show.
A good segment. We then have a video package for basically we get a video package with Roode's family. I thought this was quite interesting how they did this. Maybe not straight after the James Storm interview. They probably could have done this a different part of the show, but Roode's family is talking about their reaction to him turning heel. Remember, they had these video packages of him going into Bound for Glory, which I thought were very good. And I thought this was another one of those video packages that really helped his character, talking about how their family don't like him cheating to win. He did all this to win the belt. They're disappointed in him. It makes him look like an evil bastard, which is a heel. It's good for his heel character.
That is true. And like, again, who better to get involved and have their say than his family?
It's personal, isn't it?
Yeah, you get to see each family member having their say, having their bribe against their son, brother, whatever. And I thought this was really touching. It got to the point that Bobby Roode changed. They don't agree with it. So it definitely got his character built up. Which
is needed if you're going to have a top heel in the company, I guess, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Rob Van Dam versus Robbie E for the TV title was our next segment. You know, one thing I'll say before we go into this is I've just realised something. I know Robbie E sucks. Imagine if Rob Van Dam versus Christopher Daniels was a TV title feud. Imagine how much the TV title would mean then. Instead, we have Robbie E with the TV title. What? I just don't understand TNA's logic with this. I'm just saying, just before the match started, this is what I was thinking.
No, because when you look at it, Robbie E is not a guy that people get behind, enjoy watching wrestling, cheer for. So I think, to be honest, giving it to him has really done nothing for that belt or for the future matches he's going to have.
We don't want to see him on TV every week. We'd rather see this Van Dam-Daniels feud. Going with the match, though, the match pretty much was carried by Rob Van Dam, wasn't it? Robbie E just sucks. It went about 4 minutes, so he got some time, I guess. Eric Young, this is where it starts getting for me. Eric Young comes out like an idiot and distracts the referee, allowing Christopher Daniels to come in and give Angel wins to RVD. It develops their feud, but at the same time, Robbie E pins RVD, and I'm like, my God, really, Robbie E? I don't like RVD that much, but Robbie E pinning RVD, that's the fucking like pinning.
Well, the way I look at it, again, Robbie E was going to win somehow anyway.
Yeah.
I'm thinking doing the way they've done it, between Chris Daniels and Rob Van Dam, was the right way. But to be honest, Rob Van Dam should be at the stage where he needs to put younger guys over. I know this was an example of it, but not a very good one.
Yeah, I really think they should just put the TV title on RVD and made the RVD Christopher Daniels match. Yeah, it was a bit of a clusterfuck in the end, wasn't it? I don't know where they're going with this TV title. At least it's continuing the RVD Daniels feud. They probably had another match at the pay-per-view. You know, it had its good points and bad points, this segment. Robbie E wanted to be one of the bigger bad points.
Again, it weren't the best match either, so I was kind of not enjoying this part of TNA.
Then we get to our main event. AJ Styles versus Bobby Roode versus Jeff Hardy. Well, one thing we can say is at least this main event got about 20 minutes dedicated to it, which is decent for TNA. The match itself was slow to start with, but it was showing how Bobby Roode is trying to stay away from AJ Styles, be a smart champion, and how Hardy and AJ are working together. Eventually, as soon as AJ and Hardy stopped working together, it became somewhat better and still continued to tell a decent story.
Well, as much as it made sense, it started with a handicap match because then Jeff and AJ having a problem with Bobby Roode, it slowed the match down. And it was only when Bobby Roode hit Jeff to make it seem like AJ did it. The match actually picked up pace. They all went against each other and actually made the match flow. Good moves, and I was a bit more into it now.
Yeah, you know, it got much better once they started wrestling. You know, the match itself was decent. Jeff Jarrett, this is where it starts to get a little bit for me here. Jeff Jarrett interferes and allows Bobby Roode to get a weak victory on Jeff Hardy. Now, that is the right guy pinning the right guy there, as Jeff Hardy's not involved in the title scene yet. But this is my problem. Why is Jeff Jarrett being the last thing we see on our TV? You know, in this day and age, when you've got AJ and Bobby Roode in the main event, so why has they managed to get Jeff Jarrett in this main event and put that as the focal point rather than the World Heavyweight fucking Championship? That's my issue here, and I'm gonna give your thoughts here. I've got a couple more I'm gonna get off my chest.
Well, the way I look at it, again, Jeff Jarrett was told not to get involved with the consequences, so I really thought they were going to go down that route where Jeff Jarrett would stay out the match and just keep it a 3 on all against all. So the fact that he got involved really thought, oh dear, what's going to happen next? But it did have its right outcome.
It led to a pay-per-view match, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I like the fact it led to a pay-per-view match. We get the announcement that it's going to be Jeff Hardy versus Jeff Jarrett in a steel cage escape-only match. If Jeff Hardy wins, he's the #1 contender at Genesis, and if Jarrett wins, Hardy is out the company. I will say this, though. How the fuck is that a consequence to Jeff Jarrett? And also, it's way too early for Hardy to be in line for a #1 contendership. Come on, this is just miles too fucking early for a guy like Jeff Hardy. He needs to really build himself up and build a lot of trust in the TNA to really become a #1 contender this, you know, at least till Bound for fucking Glory next year.
Well,
I'm just saying.
The way I look at it, we got AJ versus Roode, then maybe Roode versus Storm. So where's Jeff going to fit into this? I think their idea of getting Jeff involved in the title picture is too soon.
It is fucking way too soon. That was my major issue. Jeff Jarrett being involved in the main event and using the main event to set up a Jeff Hardy, Jeff Jarrett match. I don't mind the match. The stipulation I do not agree with. Although at least it'll fucking end the feud. I hope. I'm just saying.
Well, the way we look at it now is that they continued it for one more pay-per-view. So I'm thinking if they can wrap it up nicely without anything messy going on, it should just finish it. We can move on. Jeff to the title picture and Jarrett back to wherever he was.
So the main event, you know, had good points and bad points. Overall thoughts on this show then, NJ? I'll let you go first and then I'll give my 2 cents.
Okay, this show was okay. It's just that, obviously, I was watching for the wrestling, but instead we've got too much backstage stuff. The Knockouts got more of a backstage segment than actually a build-up of a pay-per-view or build-up of an idea.
Well, Mickey James was featured, I guess.
A little bit.
For 7.
There was certain wrestlers not involved in this show that would have been good. And then we got the main event, which, again, the match was interesting. It had the right wrestlers in. It got interesting, the match went on. But it's just the main focus was the aftermath that actually made sense leading up to the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I did have some issues with that. But one thing I will say here is TLC, 1 match announced. Violent Resolution, 5 matches announced. 1 match is going to get announced next week. We had 3 matches announced for tonight, which was very... And 1 tease as well, which was incredibly pleasing for me. I did enjoy the fact that TNA at least gave their pay-per-view some hype and some kind of focus, which was good. The segment, I thought the in-ring segments were... I enjoyed pretty much all of the in-ring segments, the interviews as well. It's just... The show was really let down by all those backstage segments. That was my big issue with the show. All those backstage segments really took away from what was a good in-ring storytelling product. And that was the big issue with TNA today. And some issues with the main event as well, but I'll put those aside for the time being. But it was a good in-ring. Everything in-ring, to me, was decent to good. But the backstage segments really let it down because there was too fucking many.
That's very true, because when it comes to this, it had a good opener, a good follow-on match. But the thing is, there was backstage segments which made us really lack the entertainment that we got out of the show.
And 5 minutes of wrestling inside the first hour really says it a lot. So this is it really. You know, we enjoyed the in-ring stuff, but too much backstage stuff just let it down for me. But at least we got some good pay-per-view hype, which was a big plus from this show. Let's hope WWE can do the same thing next week, 2 weeks away from TLC. Guys, make sure you get your thoughts on TNA Impact Wrestling down in that comment section below. You've heard our thoughts. Now we want to hear your thoughts, and we'll get back to you in the replying as soon as we can.
And all I can say, guys, is thank you for watching our TNA review. And all I can say now is please leave your comments in the comment section below. Give us your thoughts and opinions of what we got and what you think is going to happen leading up to the pay-per-view. And that has been it from the British Fist, Mr Parkin, and me, NJ. Thank you very much, and goodbye.